ABC, including daytime and prime time.
Oh, that's interesting, Gary. I should think that would be fascinating.
It's very interesting.
Tell us, Gary, the names of some of those shows we might recognize, some of your specials.
Well, I think we just had a terrific Christmas show on last Christmas.
Did
the
you?
Julie Andrews show with
nice.
John Denver and Placido Domingo and the Muppets show. And we just completed a special with Liza Minnelli and one with David Bowie, the rock star. And we do the Academy Awards and the American Music Awards and the Comedy Awards. So we do a little bit of everything. And see as much of it as you can without interrupting time for your studies, but study it like you're trying to examine, what makes it work and what the different kinds of shows are, and try to study the production techniques that are used on the shows and how the cameras work and how what do the credits say and who are all these people and what jobs do they have to do these television shows, and that's a good way to get started.
That's a neat assignment. Now, won't you tell the boys and girls what that means, New York Bureau Chief, Judy?
That means that I run the New York City office for United Press International, which actually we're not just print. We're both, we have broadcast clients as well, radio and TV stations all over the country.
Tell us about that. I'm sorry I was wrong.
It's the same thing as print. Our wire goes out to broadcasters and newspapers all over the country, and that's how they get news from New York City. Let's say they're a Kansas TV station or a Nebraska newspaper. That's how they get news from New York City. Well, it's very exciting because every day something new is going on, and in the news business, I mean, why I like being in news is when you walk in the morning, you never quite know what's going to go on that day, what exactly, as a reporter, what you might be sent out to cover, what subject you might have to become an instant expert in.
Yes.
Yeah. And keeping the operation problem-free.
Well, I would think it would be very exciting because if you love news, this is really a top position, and you've done so well to get it.
Well, New York is a wonderful news town. It's not government like Washington or Albany, where I came from. It's a lot of really interesting issues and a lot of, if you're a good blood and guts reporter, I mean, this is a wonderful place. And
our responsibility includes basically putting all the commercials on of all the sports programming that you see at the CBS television network.
Wow.
Well, that includes, I might tell you, from college football and pro football to college basketball and the National Basketball Association, as well as tennis and all the sports that you see at the television network.
Ooh, that's fun. And the golf?
Golf, of course, we run for 9 months a year, from January through August. And
can you see it, boys and girls? What does it say?
That's a pin that says CBS Sports.
CBS Sports.
Right, and that pin we basically give out at all our functions around the country.
Nice. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, those pins now are worth a lot of money as pin trading is going on more and more.
It is?
Absolutely. It all started in the Olympics, and I'll tell you, in 1992 we have the Olympics from Albertville, France, and one of the
most exciting parts of your work?
Well, certainly having the opportunity of going to so many terrific sporting events throughout the country, and frankly overseas, is one of the most wonderful opportunities that one would have. It's not only a fun job and a productive job, but it allows you to meet so many positive and good people throughout the country that sports affords, that I can't tell you enough about the positive impact that sports has on my life particularly. It's an opportunity that doesn't come around too often, and I might tell you that one that I cherish a great deal.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, everybody, here is lesson 11 on the Glendora Happy Book. You're doing very well. You're going through this so fast. Now, take 5 minutes or so a day to envision it. Think of where you'd like to be 1 year from today and what you'd like to be doing. Think of what a perfect day would consist of a year from today. Sometimes, in addition to saying to yourself, 1, I want this, 2, I want that, 3, I want this, 4, I want that, affirm that you are strong, you are sure, you are lucky, you are likable, you are strong. And are
and left the courthouse. And that was about 9:40 a.m., perhaps some 15 minutes after we had entered. This is Franklin Buell again. The preceding account of the happenings of 15 minutes on the morning of February 18th, 1997, Uniondale Courthouse, I gave from just memory. Now I'm going to read a statement that I wrote on April 27th, 1997. And this is January 22nd, 1998, that we are doing this taping. The purpose of it is to make sure that if anything happened to me, a very clear record of what really happened, actually happened in the courthouse that morning, will be available from my lips as well as from my pen. This is a statement that was written on the 27th of April, 1997. On February 18th, 1997, just before 9:30 a.m., my wife Glendora and I entered the front door, main door of the federal courthouse in Uniondale, New York. We had business to conduct with the clerk of the court. Glendora preceded me to the metal detector, took items out of her pockets, and put them on the table. These included a small tape recorder. Court Security Officer Mildworm was not at the metal detector at this time. The man who was there helped Glendora take off buttons she wore when the detector beeped as she went through, and removing those buttons took care of the beeping. And as Glendora was putting things back in her pockets, not including the tape recorder, the man said, "You can't take the tape recorder into the building." Glendora asked if she could please have a receipt. This brought an answer of, "We don't give receipts." And then from a man who proved to be Security Officer Mildworm, who was standing maybe 10 or 12 feet away toward a corner of the lobby where the security officers have sort of an office. As I went through the metal detector without beeps, Glendora asked why they don't give receipts. And I remarked that getting a receipt for personal property left in keeping with someone is standard practice, commonly accepted practice. Security Officer Mildworm advanced to the metal detector and the adjoining table where the tape recorder had been since Glendora placed it there when she entered. When Glendora again requested a receipt, and I upheld the reasonableness of it, of the request, to have a receipt, Security Officer Mildworm picked up the recorder, slammed it down on the adjoining desk, and asserted, "You're not going to get a receipt." And he continued after a pause, "You've got to leave the courthouse." Glendora cited Rule 77 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, which says the clerk of the court must be open so that the public can conduct its business. To make us leave would violate this rule, Glendora said. With Security Officer Mildworm advanced and grabbed Glendora's right arm at the shoulder and twisted it behind her back, between the shoulder blades. The three of us had been standing together. To protect my wife, I spread my arms and stepped between Mildworm and Glendora, attempting to ward off his violence toward her. Security Officer Mildworm's action was to draw back his right fist and smash me in the jaw. I'm only 78 on the floor. When I sat up, Glendora was on the floor. In the face of Security Officer Mildworm's baseless assault and harassment and hostility, we got off the floor, collected our belongings, our papers, and the tape recorder, and left. It was about 9:40 a.m.
It was the morning of February the 18th, 1997, at the Uniondale Courthouse in Uniondale, New York. The time was 9:25 a.m. I entered the courthouse building. I went to the metal detector. A Pinkerton was, or a man in a baseball cap and a windbreaker or some kind of a little jacket, followed me to the metal detector, and I emptied my pockets of all the metal and put them down on the tray, in the tray on the table. And the man, who turned out to be Mr. Sullivan, said, "You can't take this recorder into the courtroom with you, into the courthouse with you." And I said, "I want a receipt for it." And he said, "We don't give receipts." So I came away from the metal detector toward the front of the building, not toward the courtrooms. And in a while, a man appeared from behind the x-ray machine. He turned out to be Kenneth Mildworm. And he took the recorder and he slammed it down on the desk, an adjoining desk, and he said, "You're not going to get a receipt." And after a while he said, "You're going to have to leave the courthouse. And I protested under Rule 77, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, and I named the rule. And I said, the clerk's office is supposed to be open for the public to conduct its business. And then I didn't know whether I had clearance or not, and I wasn't going to take any chances, and I certainly wasn't going to go into the courthouse without being sure that I had clearance. So I was just standing around waiting for clearance. And I was facing the metal detector and facing outdoors. The courtrooms are behind me. And Mildworm sneaks up behind me, grabs me under the arms. Here's a picture of one of the bruises under the arms. There's a videotape of them, too. And then he takes my right arm, right here, the wrist, and he inflicts 4 bruises there. 1 under each arm and 4 bruises here. And then he twists the arm up my back. And Franklin steps between Mildworm and myself to protect me. And all he does is extend his arms between Mildworm and himself. And Mildworm drops me on the floor. Then he turns around and socks Franklin in the jaw and knocks Franklin on the floor. And he is the co-owner of
Carousel Foods,
right?
Carousel Foods.
And you have done a very interesting thing called New York Cheesecake. Would you tell the folks about that?
Yes, at Carousel Foods we are a maker of high quality desserts, and one of the items that we specialize in is a single serve ready to eat cheesecake made with a good old-fashioned recipe, I should say. In the business we always say formula, like we think we're chemists, but we're actually bakers. And we made a cheesecake taking a natural recipe using cream cheese, sour cream, and everything that's good in it. And we found a way to make it so that you can leave it on the shelf and not have to worry about it spoiling. With some special packaging and special technology which we've sort of developed in-house. We found out a way to do something that nobody else has done. And what I'm happy about is that we have that high quality product. We make it here on Long Island and we ship it all over the world.
And that's what impressed me. Taiwan.
We ship it to Taiwan, Japan, Israel, Russia, France. We have interest from Korea, although who knows what's going to happen now with the Asian market collapsing. But we have plenty of interest right here in the United States, of course. We ship from California, Florida, the Midwest. We have our product now in the 7-Eleven Corporation, which is throughout the country.
Oh yeah, that's right, Southland.
Southland, yes. A division of Anheuser-Busch is handling us out of Oklahoma.
Oh, is that so?
Yep. We're getting good distribution now in the Chicago area.
Oh, good.
And that's just the cheesecake. And we started out, we were a dessert company making pudding.
Yeah.
The cheesecake was something that we started as a sideline, and it has really taken off, and it has become our #1 item.
Yeah, it's delicious. I find it at Pathmark now and then. And, we looked a couple, 2-3 days ago, Rich. They didn't have any.
Well, it keeps selling out, and we have a limited capacity. We're looking to add more capacity, but we're a new company. You can only do one thing at a time, and but you'll find it in a lot of delis and next in everything right down to a convenience store in a gas station next to the coffee.
And Rich, folks, I want you to know that Rich and his partner are Long Island people through and through. You went to Hofstra.
Yep, I grew up in Jericho, went to Jericho High School, Jericho Public Schools, educated at Hofstra University. My partner grew up in Woodmere, and we met each other in Brooklyn. He was in the restaurant business, and we decided to combine our forces and go into the wholesale manufacturing of desserts.
Yeah. Rich, anything else you want to tell the folks?
I think that
Covered it well.
well, I think that if you want to try a great little piece of cheesecake, our mini cake is there, and it's done the old-fashioned way, just some special packaging, and we can bring it to you fresh every time.
So this is a chat with Glendora. You've just had a nice visit with Richard Siegel, who is one of the partners of Carousel Foods. Located in East Farmingdale?
We're in East Farmingdale, and we do all of our processing and production right here.
And it's a great Long Island story. Thanks for coming all the way over, Rich.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Never had these. This is cappuccino. And these little cheesecakes go all over the world, folks. This is the great Long Island story. These two boys went to Jericho High School, or they're both Long Island people. And you met Mr. Siegel. And this one is needs no refrigeration, spoon inside, what kind is this one? This is the one, I guess, that I found. I've never seen all these other flavors. This is just the plain one that Franklin and I found and we like so much. And then we decided that we'd tell you about these Long Island people. What was that one? Key lime. And cookies and cream. And amaretto. I don't know what that is. And just think, folks, from East Farmingdale, Long Island, 2 Long Island boys, and these cheesecakes go all over the world. Isn't that terrific? Archives, they liked the old programs when public access first started out in 1972. And now I think we're up to 1978. But look how this tree has developed. Now this is a great creation of God. Remember, this is the tree that somebody threw out in the field to die. I felt sorry for it. And it didn't even have enough soil. It really didn't have a pot to call its own. Well, I guess it had a pot. And so I got the soil and helped it along. And I water it every day. And look at the size of it. Isn't it a beautiful thing? And it's so pretty when you look into the windows from the outside, too. February 9th, 1998, Anno Domini, Monday morning. Here's some other plants I rescued. Rescued plants and rescued animals. Today, folks, look at this. Look at the money, look at the time, look at the work. This is suing Panio of the DHCR. You'll hear about this. This is the Texaco derivative action, where they committed, Texaco, all the people committed racial prejudice, and they were sued, Roberts versus Texaco. Now they want to settle it, and every shareholder has a chance to speak about the settlement. I object to the settlement. It's before Charles L. Bryant. The oral argument will be on March the 31st, 1998. It's also to Rosanna Washington, whose opacity is really difficult to fathom. The U.S. Court of Appeals is considering Glendora's case against her. Glendora sued Rosanna Washington because she violated 7th Amendment right to trial by jury in the New York State Statute, Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law, no trial by jury. And you can't do that. So she was sued, along with Joanne Freya, along with Friedrich Lehrman, along with Mark Gudeman, and along with evil landlord John Porzio, who's on a retaliation harassment mode. And so this is an embossed copy of the docket from the U.S. Court of Appeals showing that the case is in the federal court. And Rosanna Washington's own order on September 2nd, the day after Labor Day, was that she was a defendant in a federal case and that the case with the landlord Porzio, the baseless lawsuit, was adjourned pending the decision of the federal court. And now, in defiance of her own order, she is scheduled February 19th and 20th at 2 p.m. for a trial. Come and see a ravenously pro-landlord judge, completely without justice. Here, Michael in Queens. He lives in Nassau, but he works in Queens. I think he works for an oil company in Queens. So I was telling him about buying an ad on TV, and he said, what's your name? And I said, Glendora. And he says, oh yeah, I'm public access. Isn't that nice? And I'm the advocate. I was standing in the lobby of the Westchester County Courthouse, Supreme Court of the state of New York. And a woman came in, and she looked at me, and she says, the advocate. And then she started to go into the candy store, and she says, the advocate. I love it. I said, you mean standing up for people's rights? She said, yes. And here's a right I have to stand up for from John Capra. This is a letter apparently he wrote me on his computer. I wish they'd write it in big print. I would like to thank you for your suggestions regarding my disagreement with Ticketmaster. I was able to find much information on Ticketmaster in both Dun & Bradstreet and Standard & Poor. I have now written a letter to President and CEO Frederick Rosen. I have also obtained other information about the company that is beyond the scope of my personal matter, but of interest to the readers of my web page and viewers of your show in regards to Ticketmaster's bad business practices in general. For instance, did you know that Ticketmaster has a part-time to full-time employee ratio of 4:1? This matches up with accounts I've come across in my research that they are known for crooked practices against their employees as well. Specifically, they fix work shifts so that the majority of employees work just under 40 hours a week, therefore making them part-time employees. This gets Ticketmaster nearly as much out of the employee as a full-time employee does, without having to provide them with health care and other benefits. Now this is from Jonathan Capra, who was my cablecaster on Continental Cablevision, and he's gone on to better things in computers up in Albany. In the insurance business, we have to help this poor woman. Her name is Papersky. And just a second, I need cheaters, fine print. And it's long, so you better watch another channel unless you want to help this woman. Rebecca Papersky. My son bought me an RV and the salesman can verify it was bought for me, and called the insurance company to have my name on the policy as the driver. About 5 months later, I took my grandchildren on vacation. The RV was bought in Ohio. we were on our way to Nevada to return the boys back home on I-40, about 18 miles outside of Kingman, Arizona. 4 a.m., a semi with no lights ran into the back of me. I was able to pull over, not knowing what happened to me, as I was somewhat able to keep it under control. As I was pulling over, the lights came on behind me, truck weaving out of control, and then the truck starting to pull over. I had to pull up some more so he would not hit me again. The driver would not call for help. He did keep trying to come into the RV and gave me the impression he wanted to grab me. He saw the boys and stopped and asked who else is in there. My dog was thrown and scared. The dog was able to keep him from coming in and stopped him from coming after me. I begged him to call for help. He went back to his truck, the front of it, and was working on it. He did not call for help. He came back and forth a few times each time. He said he can't get anyone able to walk, and I was unable to walk or stand very well. I tried to step down out of the RV and fell out onto the ground. I crawled in front of the RV to the highway with a flashlight and was able to get another truck to stop. He came over to us and he called for help. When the truck was stopping, I could hear the driver that hit me yell, "Oh no, a truck is pulling over." I got back into the RV and asked this driver to please stay with us until someone got here. He did. So thank you, driver, for that, really. Someone came out and spoke to the people from the truck that hit us. Then he came to us and told the other driver to go. He took the report and asked if the RV would start. I managed to start it. He told me I had to leave. I asked if he was going to get us help. Both boys were hurting and one was screaming and then said he couldn't breathe. I was told we had to leave. It was too dangerous for us to sit here on the side of the road, and it would be a long time before anyone would get there. I'd be better off making it into town myself. I had hit my head when I got hit, and the only thing that kept me from passing out was my grandson screaming. I was hurting all over, but I had to try and keep my head because of the boys, and I had two dogs with us. One dog was pinned to a knob. We got her free, and she seemed to be all right. The concern for the dogs kept the boys calm. 18 miles from Kingman, when we got there, I stopped and tried to get ourselves together. One boy got out and called his mother in Nevada. We got there, stopped, and tried to get ourselves together. We were all in pain and would tried and get there and needed her to get the boys checked. I went through Kingman, and no stranger to Kingman. I drove aimlessly, trying to get to Highway 93, only one way to go, and drove in circles twice going toward California. Difficulty driving in my RV now. I had to keep and drove in circles. And pulling over and sit for a while, a 2-hour drive took me more than a half the day to get there. We went to the hospital and they check up over, but didn't take x-rays. Said to follow up with a doctor. That evening my grandson couldn't breathe. Rushed him back to the hospital and didn't know what was wrong. He's able to breathe now. The following day I called my insurance company and they said they would send someone out from Ohio. Can you imagine this poor woman having all this problem? Now look, this is very, very hard to read. And I'm down to the first third of the first page. And here's how much more there is. So if you don't want to help this woman, if you can't think of a way to help this woman, you might want to watch something else on another channel. But I want to help this woman. Okay, let's struggle on here. I told her I couldn't make it back and forth to the doctor and needed help. My finances were low and hurting too much to drive. She told me my accident report was wrong. The driver's license insurance had expired and couldn't find the driver or the home office of the insurance company. And something says it goes on for a couple of weeks. I didn't I did, and still no driver, and Allstate, my insurance, would not return my calls. This went on until from August 5th till October. I called my son in Ohio and asked him to help me get back there and settle this with the insurance company. I left for Ohio, and 3 weeks later I arrived in Ohio. My son met me part way and called Allstate. They kept telling me they would help me to get back. The lawyer secretary, still no calls from Allstate and no driver. I was not able to find home office of his insurance company. I called and got the home office of the insurance and called and gave it to her November, and still no help. Unable to wear shoes all this time, I went to see a doctor, and she x-rayed my feet. I told her I had so much pain before, but my bones are pulling apart. I had headaches every day and didn't know what I was doing, and sometimes I couldn't remember things. She said I must have broken my feet, but they were healing, and it was too late to do anything about them. Still calling Allstate because of my headaches, still no help. I stayed a couple of months with my son, but couldn't stay there. The landlord wouldn't allow it, so I stayed at the park through the winter. I went back to visit with my son for a week or two and couldn't remember the lawyer or the doctor. I went to see, so I called a lawyer in Ohio, and he helped me to find the lawyer and got the information from the accident. The only information on the report that was correct was the truck number. The lawyer in Nevada did not want to handle it, and the lawyer couldn't help me. He gave me the current insurance company, and then I also found the doctor I went to see. Now this is about Allstate. One thing I'm going to do is that I have found who the CEO, president, or the chairman and CEO of Allstate is. His name is Jerry D, as in David, Choate, C-H-O-A-T-E. Allstate is located in Northbrook, Illinois. I have the business address and telephone number, but I also found Mr. Choate's home address. I am going to send this account to Mr. Choate, and I'm going to ask him, won't he please help this poor woman? So that's one thing I could do. Now, let's take a break here, and then I'll come back and I'll read you the rest of this. Allstate just left me and kept saying they would call back in 2 weeks, and a month and so on. More than a year went by, and again I couldn't remember bits and pieces again. Now I didn't remember the lawyer in Ohio. Almost 2 years later, a lady in the park helped me to try and locate the insurance company of the man that hit me. Called the police station, called the insurance company on the report, and it was Zurich Insurance. They said they were not the insured, and Allstate contacted them, and they told me the insured was Home Insurance and the trucking company was Golden Arrow. The report the driver gave was Ziggy Trucking and Zurich Insurance. After I found out the correct insurance company and trucking company, I contacted them. They admitted they were the insured, and they did help me. I needed to pay rent and food money and needed to see a doctor. In the meantime, Allstate contacted my son and sent him a letter offering him $3,000 to settle this and close it out. He said no, it had nothing to do with him. They wanted to give me $3,000 and close it out. My RV had $8,100 in damage, full coverage, and would not pay for it. I wrote to the insurance commissioner and filled out forms and sent all the paperwork to them and told them what Allstate was doing. They sided in with Allstate. I also told them we never got the insurance. Police and the insurance commission said they could. I get the policy now. I'm told I'm not on the policy and wasn't on it. I called the general attorney's office, and the commission, lied to them and said they never received the paperwork. I sent out another copy of everything. Now the insurance commission says that still doesn't prove Allstate is lying or what they are doing. After hundreds of lawyers I have called with no help. I went back to Nevada and got a lawyer for Nevada and Arizona. He filed it. It will not go after, they will not go after Allstate. He wants me to settle for $6,000, and now $4,000. My wages were $11,000, and not even try to collect. Said I've got till February to settle this, and I know the home insurance is the insured. He no longer wanted to handle the case and wants me to settle to live. I told him I refused to do so. I suffered so much and went through so much that I don't want to live anymore. They kept me at the hospital for 2 weeks. I couldn't stop crying and severe headaches. I took aspirin twice a day. They asked me why I was limping, and it said that why I wanted the aspirin. I kept telling them the feet are broken and my head kept hurting. I guess the thought I was going through a state of depression after several days of crying. Hard particles were coming from my eyes, and finally the headaches and the pressure on my eyes started to go away. I believe the glasses broke and the particles got in her eyes. This poor woman. This is now, we're reading Rebecca Papersky, and we're reading what happened to her, and I want to find somebody to help her. Are you in the insurance business? Can you help this woman? My eyes started, the pressure in my eyes started to go away when they finally tested me out, and now found nothing in my eyes. X-rayed my foot and said they were cracked but healing, and gave me a wooden heel. My toes felt as if they were pulling apart all the time. My RV shorted out, no heat, had to give up everything. I now have lost everything I had, and I now stay with my daughter-in-law till I can get on my feet. I also had to go to the Social Security office for help and the welfare office for help. I believe the Social Security did help her, thank God. I cannot find anyone that will go after Allstate for creating this mess. Allstate is still lying and trying to cover up everything. Something, I need a lawyer to file a complaint against Allstate and the driver that hit me. I did have insurance with Allstate, and I went to the office myself and paid the insurance. The agent knows this, and my ex-daughter-in-law will verify it. I'm told I only have to February to do something about the accident. The insurance company will close it out. It is filed something I was told I have to serve the driver, and I won't be able to find that. Okay, so I'm going to do, first of all, I asked you for help. And then, as I say, I've got Schultz' home address and his business address, but I will write him home, and I will tell him that I reported this to you on television, and I will seek, or I will plead, that he help this poor woman. Insurance fraud is not my specialty. My specialty is lawyer fraud, crooked lawyers, and judge fraud, corrupt judges. Okay, I wanted to tell you that during Christmas, all of the courts, it was like ghost town. It's such a consumer ripoff. 2 weeks, all the lawyers and all the judges were loafing. You would go down to the United States District Court in Coropus and Lexington. You would go to the Supreme Court of the State of New York, the City Court of the City of White Plains. Not a soul. It was ghost town. I think that's terrible, the way they loaf Christmas time and New Year's time. You see, I'm in the middle of running these archives, and people enjoy them. This is what public access was in 1973. What is that, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, more than that, 17, huh? Almost. And so, but I just felt compelled to help this poor woman. And and I have terrible reports for you about the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Why are appeals courts so crooked? You couldn't have a worse court than the Appellate Division, Supreme Court of the State of New York. You just couldn't have a worse court. And now I find out that the Federal Appeals Court is just as bad. And it's a long story to tell you about that. And many, many stupid things that they've written to tell you that. And you know, and the analysis of what they've done wrong. Okay, but that will have to wait. What happens when ducks fly upside down? What happens when ducks fly upside down? They quack up. And you heard about the Chinese telephone directory? They've completely given up on publishing the Chinese telephone directory. There are so many wings and so many wongs, everybody is winging the wrong number. He works for an oil company in Queens. So I was telling him about buying an ad on TV, and he said, what's your name? And I said, Glendora. And he says, oh yeah, I'm public access. Isn't that nice? And I'm the advocate. I was standing in the lobby of the Westchester County Courthouse, Supreme Court of the state of New York. And a woman came in, and she looked at me, and she says, the advocate. And then she started to go into the candy store, and she says, the advocate. I love it. I said, you mean standing up for people's rights? She said, yes. And here's a right I have to stand up for from John Capra. This is a letter apparently he wrote me on his computer. I wish they'd write it in big print. I would like to thank you for your suggestions regarding my disagreement with Ticketmaster. I was able to find much information on Ticketmaster in both Dun & Bradstreet and Standard & Poor. I have now written a letter to President and CEO Frederick Rosen. I have also obtained other information about the company that is beyond the scope of my personal matter, but of interest to the readers of my web page and viewers of your show in regards to Ticketmaster's bad business practices in general. For instance, did you know that Ticketmaster has a part-time to full-time employee ratio of 4:1? This matches up with accounts I've come across in my research that they are known for crooked practices against their employees as well. Specifically, they fix work shifts so that the majority of employees work just under 40 hours a week, therefore making them part-time employees. This gets Ticketmaster nearly as much out of the employee as a full-time employee does, without having to provide them with health care and other benefits. Now this is from Jonathan Capra, who was my cablecaster on Continental Cablevision, and he's gone on to better things in computers up in Albany. As we discussed before, I have included written accounts of what has transpired so you can discuss my situation on your show. I have included letters to and from Ticketmaster and other parties involved. I have also included a printed representation of my website. Since you yourself do not have a computer, I really appreciate that you will be sharing my plight with your viewers. I would ask that you direct them to my website. If you would list it on the character generator, the address should be written in all lowercase as follows. Well, I don't think I can do that on the character generator. www. Fantasyland, one word, no caps. .com/ticket, and a word that I will not read or say. Through this site, your viewers can learn more about the situation and about Ticketmaster as a whole. They can also share their comments or suggestions with me through email. I was also wondering if you ever take an advocacy role for others. Specifically, I was wondering if you might write a letter to the Ticketmaster on my behalf. The reason being, you are known for cracking down on corporate lawbreakers. A few. PCI, Continental, Cablevision, Gannett. I guess the others were crooked lawyers and corrupt judges. And especially your successful case against Cablevision Systems. I just thought the Glendora name might be able to jostle these crooks to a bit more than my attempts so far have been able to. That's too bad. He hasn't had a success with them. If you would consider it, I would appreciate it wholeheartedly. I would again like to thank you for all the help you've been this far. If you ever need to reach me, you can call me at 518, that's Albany, 442-7569. Jonathan Capra. He's a sweetheart. I really like him a lot. He and I used to talk for hours while he cablecast my show on Continental on Saturday afternoons at 3:30. To whom it may concern, Ticketmaster customer service. That's bad. You should write to the CEO. Here's what you should do, and what I told Jonathan Capra to do. You should call up the library and you should ask library information if they would be so kind as to give you the name, address, and telephone number of the CEO and chairman of blank blank corporation. And they will find it, and it's probably in Standard & Poor's 1, Volume 1. And then you should ask them if they would be so kind as look in Standard & Poor's Volume 2, the directory of directors and management, officers. If they will look in Standard & Poor's Volume 2 and look up the name of the CEO and the chairman and see if his home address is listed. Then you write your complaint to the CEO. Nobody underneath is going to do anything for you. And then, if it isn't in Standard & Poor's 2, you can call the library information and ask them to look up the internet and see if you can find the home address and telephone number in the internet. Or the CD-ROM used to be good now. So you try the CD-ROM for the Northeast or for the Midwest or for southern western United States or northwestern United States. Says Jonathan, I'm writing in regard to the order I made in October, order number 10-22-508. I purchased 4 tickets for the Chemical Brothers show, which took place at Manhattan Center in New York City on November 15th. The tickets were $25 apiece with total surcharges at $24. The total purchase amounted to $124. I demand to be reimbursed for the purchase price of these tickets, as services were not rendered as offered. When I ordered the tickets, I was told by the representative that the show was general admission and standing room only at the Hammerstein Ballroom in the Manhattan Center. This made sense to me. When I arrived on the evening of the 15th, I soon learned that there were 2 distinct groups of tickets, those for the ballroom floor and those for the balcony. And I had arbitrarily been assigned 4 balcony tickets. If I had known this, I would have chosen 4 floor tickets, if available. Otherwise, I wouldn't have purchased the tickets, nor would I have driven 3 hours in a winter storm from my student residence in Albany to get there. Apparently, the floor tickets were not sold out at the time I ordered. Another friend of mine had attended the concert and luckily received floor tickets. She ordered her tickets well after I did and reported that you also failed to note the distinction between types of tickets to her. The Manhattan Center box office staff, what do you think of this? Refused to exchange the tickets, otherwise grant us entrance to the ballroom floor or help us in any way other than to direct me to call you. Your offices were closed at the time. Security staff hassled my friends and I while we stood in the lobby trying to figure out what to do. Finally, we decided to proceed upstairs. Upstairs, we found rows of seats and no space to dance. The Manhattan Center decided to leave all the lights on in the balcony despite my repeated requests to the security staff. The whole situation was ludicrous. I was completely furious and disgusted. My friends and I left midway through the show. I am fed up enough that my time was wasted. However, I will not allow my money to be wasted. Allow me to explain further that this is not a simple case of bleeder seats versus front row. The Chemical Brothers are a techno act. It is an event for dancing. There is no sense sitting in a balcony watching 2 people push buttons from afar. This is akin to sitting in seats and watching a DJ spin records. If there was anything to see, it was impeded by the lights left on the balcony section. Again, I was sold general admission to the Hammerstein Ballroom. I was there to dance. I have been an avid attendant of many concerts over the years, and therefore, due to your monopoly in the concert industry, have been a frequent Ticketmaster customer. At the point I am finding it hard to justify paying the exorbitant ticket prices and Ticketmaster surcharges to see my favorite music acts and then be treated like something by venue staff. The concert industry has been devoid of courtesy and a sense of customer service as it is. A situation such as this was truly uncalled for. A customer service representative of yours commented to me that Ticketmaster cannot be responsible for the actions of venue staff. That is, leaving lights on in the balcony. Well, if you can play the role of middleman when you take my money, you will play that role in getting it back. You are interface and representative to the venue. What are the Ticketmaster surcharges for? The outcome of this situation will definitely make or break it for my friends, and if I am not reimbursed, the four of us will forego attendance at shows in the future and suffice to merely listening to CDs, etc. I am definitely not going to attend other Ticketmaster events I had planned to until the situation is resolved. How can he sue them? It's an amount of $124 plus his inconvenience. And that's a small claims matter. You'd have to sue them for something else. And for a different amount. Compensatory and punitive damages. Make it thousands. Make it 50,000, 100,000, then it can go to federal court. Is it a federal question? I think you could read the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure and maybe find out that it is a federal question. Sue him in Westchester Supreme Court. He lives in Thornwood. Yes, he could sue them in Westchester Supreme Court. Now, on what grounds? Fraud, misrepresentation, refusal to make good. Yeah, you could possibly make a state case out of this, or you can make a federal case out of it. I have already contacted my credit card company and will file a dispute on the charges, if need be. Services were not rendered. See, they don't care if you do that. What you got to do is sue them. Services were not rendered as offered, and I will not pay for them. I currently can be reached by phone at my student residence at 518-442-7569. Responses by mail should be sent to the September 16, 1997, at 11:30 p.m. The master is made. It's being played from a piano player. The master was made from the camera that I'm holding in my hand. And then it comes down into this recorder. And then the signal goes up into the VCR. And then the signal comes out of the VCR. See that wire? And it comes into the 8mm. The second 8mm. This is one 8mm that I'm holding. This is the edit panel. This is the Chiron. And if I can make the Chiron work. See, we'll try this. He doesn't like that. Okay, so you hit cancel. Put in the name GLENDORA. Press what? What's it called? Execute. Okay, cancel. G3. See if anything comes up. Yeah, it says chat with Glendora. Program 2274. February the 4th, 1997. Let's see what G7 says. So down here, G7, and execute. Let's see what comes up. If there's anything you can read. You can hardly read that. It says to be continued. Okay, let's do another one. Execute. Execute twice. Let's put up G10. That was wrong. Let's make that G10. Okay, execute. Nothing. Okay, let's go back. Execute again. Center for Judicial Accountability. Oh, okay. Cancel. Isn't that interesting? Let's go down here. Valid field, so you cancel. What's he want me to do? Execute. He doesn't like that. Cancel. He doesn't like that. Cancel again. Okay, back to the main menu. Execute. Let's put in another one. G11. Execute. Center for Judicial Economy, Glendora versus U.S. West. McCormick, Hofstadter, Lillis, 516-425-0304. This is the audio board underneath this little fella here. Good? And then the music from my audio cassette player is plugged into there. And this is Miriam Cedarbon, a United States District Judge. Now over here we have the VHS format. That's a monitor, that's a monitor. Public access edit room, hours are from 8:30 a.m. to 12 midnight. That's better than you ever did, John Malone. And here's the edit controller for here. This is sort of fancy. You got wipes. You got all kinds of special effects. Colors and things like that. So that's the VHS control board, and there's the audio board for that. And this is the character generator for the VHS. This is a Panasonic. Isn't that cute? Now over here you can go from VHS to 3/4 inch, or you can go from 3/4 inch to VHS. And then you can go from VHS to VHS. These are Super VHS. So that's editing in Hicksville, Cablevision. On. September 16, 1997. Tuesday. Want to take a look at this long, long, long hallway? Look at this. And this is a desk that they give us to sit at, public access producers. And it's all very nice. This is one of Franklin's many wounds from the escalator at Bradley's on September the 18th, 1997 at 4:30 p.m. That's one. And that is on the left leg. They're bandaged and being treated. So that's number 2 and number 3. This one is number 4. That's a skin burn, Franklin.
That's a good question. They're so sore, I think they got just pushed in the wrong direction.
Pushed in the wrong direction, okay. 2 on the back, 3 on the back, 4 on the head, 5 the fingers, and this is 6 on that knee. Find this bandage. This is on his right leg. And it made a pool of blood on the escalator step. He must have lost a quarter of a cup of blood. This is the worst wound. I believe this is number 7. Be careful now. Be careful when you take the net. Ooh, look at that. Be careful. Easy does it. Don't make it bleed again. Does it hurt? Okay, we'll have to stop and cut that away and soak it away. Okay? So we're going to turn off the camera now and soak that away. Turn your leg this way so I can see the wound.
You can't see it.
It bled terribly down there on the escalator, and then when he came home and took a hot bath, which made him feel so much better, he gets out of the bathtub and it starts to bleed again. And there's another 4 or 5 tablespoons. We can do this one before we do the other one, the worst one. Those 8 bad wounds. He slept 10¼ hours. He was very brave. Now let's see the wound. So you got one on your heel too. That's a little tiny wound, that's 9. And this one we won't undo. But we better cover that up to stop any infection. We did prevent the infection. The people at the store were very, very good. That would be Mr. Butler and Mr. Cronin and Jimmy. They put alcohol swabs and Band-Aids over them. We kept the infection out. Bled so much. This is the first time we've seen it because it was covered with blood. This is the worst one, and that's number 9. Now this videotape is being made on, as you can hear at noon, on September the 19th, 1997, Friday. And so that would be from 4:30 to 4:30, that's 12 hours, and 4 to noon. It's about 19 hours afterwards. And he has done a wonderful job recovering. Now tell me about your bruises on the chest. What about the chest? They aren't bruises, but they're muscle strain? Is there anything broken? And then on the neck? You don't notice that now. But last night
I guess when you get up from home, I don't remember. When you got up from home, I was sore. Now it's mostly here.
Now you got some in there. Okay, so that's 10 is the neck and 11 is the chest. Oh, thank heaven. Thank heaven. Nothing broken. Fade out. Where? I think it's swollen. I think it's swollen and I think it's slightly discolored. He fell backwards with his head toward the bottom of the escalator. And Mr. Butler came off and turned off the escalator. But I saw Franklin after this and he was sitting upright. Well, it's, let's see, it's 19 days later. This is October 1st, 1997, Thursday. And let's see the top of your head, Franklin. Last time we looked at these wounds, it was September the 19th. It is now October 1st. How many days is that?
11.
So you see, that's all cleared on the cranium. How about the shoulders? Are they all clear? Do they hurt? And this one down on the back, you remember that? It's all healed. Now let's see, what do we got across the chest, Franklin? We have a bruise on this arm that's still holding. And what about the pain in the chest? Is it gone? Are you able to sleep in a bed now?
Yes.
For how many nights?
3.
Okay, would you take the, that's good. Would you take the, let me see the one on your right thigh. Okay, that one's gone pretty well. Don't hurt yourself. Ooh, that's ugly. Okay, you want to hold this up? Still ugly, but it's healing. All right, and the one on your knee. Such suspense. See, that was doing well, and it doesn't look good at all. It was doing so well. It was almost clear. All right, this one down here. I don't know if the bandages do good or not do good. Let's see, little one. Turn so we can see the little one. Okay, and then the worst one of all. It's still bleeding. That turned red. This is something new. It turned all red up there. Yuck. Looks worse. Looks worse, doesn't it? When you bandage it.
Yes.
See how red that is? But that's gone down. And then you see the discoloration in the foot? That has lessened. And could you flatten the foot so we can see that the swelling has lessened? What do you got to say about these, Franklin?
Oh, they're getting better. Slowly.
Isn't that something, the way that gets red up there? All right, this happened on September the 18th. November the 18th, Thursday, and is now October the 1st, Wednesday. Tomorrow would be 2 weeks, isn't that so?
That's right.
1997, Anno Domini. It's October the 25th, 1997, Saturday, Anno Domini, and we're waiting for 2 people from the probation department who asked to see our home. What's that all about? And this is of 2 people. This is our consolation for being beat up by Bruiser Ken. 6 bruises and Franklin socked in the jaw. Okay. What happened?
Marianne has.
Come in, folks. You know, I never saw you standing up.
That's all.
Hi, Mr. Ted.
Oh, you see you. My husband, Marianne Bess.
Mr. Buell?
Hello. There's M-A-R-Y, I think, 2 words, A-N-N-B-E-T-T-S. What happened, traffic?
It was horrific.
Oh, how could you do that? I gave you such a good It's very hard.
Just here for a minute, and then we'll be.
Okay. Well, how
Sit
many-
down.
Well, I don't even know what the purpose of the visit is.
Just look around.
Well, for what reason? Home confinement? I'm thinking in case the judge wants home confinement. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you really live here.
We
The
would
address
like a
exists.
luxury, yeah.
The address
Well,
exists.
I'd love to have you show around. Take the first look at the kitchen, man. But
Little eating kitchen.
won't you, that's the kitchen. Ooh. Then, did you like to see what's in the drawers and stuff?
No.
Because this is all, this is baseball books.
Oh, okay.
You're talking to an incorrigible baseball fan here.
Oh, your favorite teams?
Not really.
All
I'm interested in
baseball
all
books.
of them. For a long time, I was in a dive with pirates.
Marianne, I want to show you the award
That
we
came
got.
about in an interesting way.
Franklin and Glendora Buell.
When I was here.
Here, hold it.
The Fellow Seekers of Justice. This May.
Pirates won the World Series that
Isn't that nice?
It
So I
is.
suppose that came to mind.
It was nice, it meant a lot to us.
Oh, okay.
Wow. What is this group, the Fellow Seekers?
Oh, they're people who stand up for civil rights. 1998. Would you look down here? And could you see the water? And Mr. Fortune says there's no water in the summer. Okay, that's one. Let's go over and look at this drip rod here. Okay, let's try the other one. Over here. And here's the other one. January 25th, 1998. 7:23 a.m. Should be morning. Okay, let's go over here with this one. people who own these bicycles should put them in their lockers. That's why we all have lockers. So there's 3 bicycles out here. He's been told about this innumerable times. Well, I would say 24 times. With his air conditioner, I would say 24 times. Today is January the 25th, 1998, Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Now, the cellar in Building C is filled with inflammables. You can hardly get to the recycle. You have to reach over so many discarded boxes. There's a whole bunch of junk in Cellar C. I cannot videotape it for you because it takes a light, such as this, a 600-watt light. Mine is AC, and there doesn't seem to be any AC outlet in Cellar C. I have asked White Plains at Public Access for a battery-operated video light. No, I have asked a Cablevision Hicksville for a video-operated battery light, and they don't have them. But that should be videotaped so you can see how bad Cellar C is. Stolen from our bin. We left the bin open to air it out, and the broom was stolen. However, our broom over in from Cellar C in time for Halloween. No, I just found it last week, 3rd week in January. Again, today is January 25, 1998, Anno Domini, Sunday. Building code I gave to John Porzio, 21 Greenwich Avenue. There's a finite number of parking spaces. 2 cars should not be in the same parking space. This car belongs to a female court reporter, court stenographer, and you can see that, who doesn't live here. She's a visitor of the people in apartment 3B. And you can see that one of the cars is parked on the lawn. This is in violation of the White Plains Building Department permits to the owner of this building, John S. Porzio. This has happened several times. He's been told about it several times. And this car has been here overnight. The name of the court stenographer, I believe, is Veronica. She's a twin of the court stenographer I hired named Valerie. The date is January 30th, 1998, and the time is 7 a.m. Another Porzio defiance of the authorities. It is 8:15 a.m., January 29th, rather 30th, 1998, Friday.
David Meister, who's the president of FNN, that's the Financial
News Network.
FNN Financial News Network. David, just tell the boys and girls what the FNN is.
Well, it's a financial news network. It's a cable network that has 33 million subscribers across the country.
Truly? Wow, 33 million. When did it start, David?
It started in 1981, around Thanksgiving of 81.
Really? And you're the president of it?
Yes, I am.
That's great. Now, where were you born, David?
I was born in New York City in anticipation of it.
Yeah. David, we want to thank you a lot for helping the boys and girls. It was fun.
You're welcome.
Did you have a good time?
Sure.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
beauty shops, the gossip alone that you hear is enough to curl your hair. And what did the publisher say to Leo Tolstoy? What did the publisher say to Leo Tolstoy? Now look, Leo, either you're going to write a book about war or about peace. We are reporting to you again on this edition, the corrupt judge of the week. The corrupt judge of the week is so corrupt that he has to be the corrupt judge of 2 weeks. We read to you up to page 46 last week on Louis A. Barone and Amelia T. Del Vecchio. The case is Glendora versus Texaco. Texaco is a very corrupt company. It has a corrupt board of directors and it has a corrupt management. And you know the Roberts versus Texaco case, and then you knew about the Texaco derivative action, and then you knew about Glendora versus Texaco. Peter I. Bijur, its CEO and chairman, and Carl Davidson, who was in investor relations and has retired, and I'll take credit for that. The issue is that we have a law in the state of New York, the New York State Business Corporation Law. The law says very clearly in black letters that a corporation has to show a shareholder its books, its records, and its minutes. Do you know that Texaco was crooked enough not to do that? And do you know that Louis A. Barone and his inexperienced and bumbling and fumbling law clerk, Amelia T. Del Vecchio, was crooked enough not to do that? When standing right next to them, they had a justice of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, State of New York, rule naturally. Cablevision has to show Glendora shareholder the books, records, and minutes. That's how corrupt this judge, this corrupt judge of the week is. I thought, you know, the Westchester County Court, the Supreme Court, used to be bad, very bad. And I had lots of experience with that in the years 1991, 92, 93. We had bad judges all over the place. Rosado, Colabella, Ruskin, Wood. Wood was about the worst. Nicolai, Fredman, Coppola. Coppola twice. Once was bad enough, but twice. And they took forever, and they didn't rule on the merits, and they didn't rule on the law, and they didn't rule on the facts. They ruled on self-interest, whatever was best for them. They ruled for that. In fact, they don't rule at all. It's the amateur law clerks who do all the work and look up the laws and apply them phonily, and the judge merely fills in his name and the 1-digit or 2-digit date. That's what we had in the Westchester County Supreme Court. And it was so bad that I really sort of gave up on them. And I did a lot of work in federal court, standing up for people's rights. But then I went back to the Supreme Court this year, the year of 1998 and 97, and I found a good judge, and I thought that things had changed. That the older judges had left, and the newer judges that came in did their work, did it promptly, read the law, and ruled by the law, the new younger judges. I would hope that that would be Shapiro and Scarpino, and certainly de Blasi, and I hope that would be it. But I find out that the older judges still rear their ugly heads. One of them is Nastasi. He's going to be a nominee for Corrupt Judge of the Week, and that's a long story that I haven't told you. And another one is Cowie. And this one, hope is shattered. Barone. He's lost it all. He's lost all contact with his calling, with his oath, with his office. He's lost all contact with it. And that's a corrupt judge of the week for the week of, well, it started with the week of Independence Day, and the week before that. Started on June the 25th. Okay, I got up as far as page 47 with you last week, and this crooked letter came from Texaco, this corrupt corporation, and it's from Tim Miller, who was a puppet there. And he said, I am in receipt of your document entitled Memorandum by Glendora, New York State Business Corporation Law, Section 624, etc., dated June the 12th, 1998. I note that it contains a request to come to Texaco's office on June 26, 1998, to review the shareholder list in written form and to see the minutes and books of 1998. As stated in my May 20th, 1998 letter to you, we cannot make those records available for your review. Well, just why can't you? You fly the flag of the state of New York out of your elaborate Texaco headquarters in Harrison, and just why can't you? The law says clearly that you have to. The matter remains before Justice Barone, and we will await his resolution of it. Sincerely, Tim Miller. That shows you clearly that there was inside dealings between Barone and Barone's law clerk Del Vecchio and Texaco's law firm, another crooked bunch of lawyers, of course, Weil, Gottscho, and Manges, whom I call Wiley, Godless, and Mangy, on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. So that just shows you that they know they're going to get a decision. I want to know who paid, how much did they get paid, and what did they get for it. And so I send this outrageous defiance of New York state law and New York state citizens' rights to Louis A. Barone, saying enclosed is my letter in objection to further law breaking by defendants Texaco, Bajur, and Davidson. And we sent an old Texaco friend with it, Bob Hope. Here's a letter that I just read you, and here is my handwritten notation. Glendora says, no, the matter remained before Governor Rockefeller in 1962 and has ever since. It is a law. It is a right. It does not have to be enforced. You are, as in Roberts versus Texaco, in violation of state law. Glendora increases her ad hominem to $30 million. There is only one resolution that Justice of the Supreme Court, Barone, can make. And before he makes it, I have the right in black letter law. You, Tim Miller, will be added as a defendant. Your law-breaking is abominable. You fly the flag of the Empire State and violate her laws. You should be locked up. This underscores Glendora's opposition to the Roberts versus Texaco action and to the Texaco derivative action. These lawbreakers have learned nothing from either one of those lawsuits. And the task force is a hoax, and plaintiff lawyers' fees are a scam. $1 million they want, $1.4 million. The matter of Texaco's violation of the New York State Business Corporation Law 624 is res judicata as of April 1st, 1998 by Justice of the Supreme Court John P. de Blasi, the very neighbor of Louis A. Barone. Texaco's lawyer has already lost his job over this. That would be Dennis J. Block. Not only did he lose his job at Weil, Wiley, Godless, and Mangy, but he left the profession. He left lawring. Oh, it's not a profession. He left lawring. Used car salesmen have a better profession than lawyers. He has already lost his job over this and has left lawyering as he should have for his disgraceful lying and bungling, and Glendora takes full credit for that as exposing his lies. A copy of this protest herein is being sent to Charles L. Bryant, U.S. District Judge, Southern District of New York, and Charles Merdler, Special Master, to show both Texaco has not learned a thing, as Glendora said all along, about abiding by federal and state law, and plaintiffs' lawyers are not entitled to $1.4 million, nor any part thereof. Okay, that's what I sent to Barone. Look what this incompetent law clerk, Amelia T. Del Vecchio, did. Ex parte communicating is not acceptable. No date, no signature, and she read the paper upside down. Maybe if she had stood on her feet instead of on her head, she might have got the drift, but I sort of doubt that, because she is dedicated to what is crooked, to what is unjust, to what doesn't deal with the merits, to what is anti-Empire State and anti-American. So Glendora says, now this that I'm reading you is a lawsuit, and it is a lawsuit filed in the United States District Court, District of Columbia. It was mailed out along about June 26th or June 27th. And I have to remind, because I reported on this to you last week for a whole half hour, and I just want to remind you who the defendants are. Glendora Citizen Plaintiff versus Louis A. Barone, Amelia T. Del Vecchio, Dennis J. Block, Wild Gotcho Manges, Texaco Incorporated, Peter I. Bajur, Carl Davidson, Tim Miller, Charles L. Bryant, John S. Porzio, Friedrich M. Lerman, and Mark A. Gudeman, defendants. In 2 days, Barone, Del Vecchio, Barone doing nothing and Del Vecchio doing everything wrong and crooked, ruined 2 lawsuits. I had another one before him, Glendora versus Crooked Landlord, John Porzio, Crooked Liar for Hire, Friedrich Lerman, and Crooked Liar for Hire, Mark A. Gudeman. The puerility, the childishness of this deed is ineffable. And look at her handwriting, and she complains about my handwriting. And infra is the envelope. Glendora knew that Richard T. Duranko. I noticed that it comes from the now named the Duranko Courthouse. Do you remember when Richard T. Duranko was on Glendora's TV program in 1988, 9 days before he was murdered? Dick was only the 2nd United States District Judge ever murdered. And now we have Section E of this complaint, more judicial frivolous decision making. And look at this, she uses the word following 3 times. The following papers numbered 1 to 15 read on this motion for default judgment. Cross motion to dismiss actions. Upon the following papers, it is ordered that these motions are decided as follows. Does that show you how schoolgirl she is? The English construction is as bad as the legal construction. It is heterotaxis. You know what heterotaxis is? When taxidermists put a body together, everything going in the wrong direction. It's a hodgepodge and it's a mishmash, and there is no mention of plaintiff's recross motion for summary judgment in her favor as a matter of law. Dum-dum. And what does this mean, these papers 1 to 15? I have no idea what they are. Why don't they simply read? We read this paper, and this paper. We read the complaint. They probably didn't read the complaint. We read the so-called answer. Well, we read the motion to dismiss. We read the opposition to the motion to dismiss. We read the cross motion for summary judgment. Why don't you just say that? You want to know why? It isn't just because they're stupid. It's because they're crooked. They're covering up. Now, says Delvecchio, the request of the plaintiff Glendora for an order granting a default judgment against the defendants, John Porzio, Friedrich Lehrman, and Mark Guterman, is denied. That's all. Why is it denied? What is your legal basis? Upon what grounds do you deny it? They were clearly in default. Do Baron Delvecchio embrace breaking the laws of the state? Did Glendora receive her 14th Amendment equal protection of the law? I have and you have a right to equal protection of the law. The law isn't just there to protect Texaco. Even if Texaco had done something right, and I've never known Texaco to do anything right. The law isn't just there to protect crooked landlord John Porzio, because he might have done something right, and he never has. It's always been wrong. Did Glendora receive her 14th Amendment equal protection of the law? Was she granted due process? Baron Delvecchio wallow in dictum. This is dysgenic judgmentship. The request, says Delvecchio, of the defendants for an order granting dismissal of the plaintiff's 2 complaints is granted. Why? Why is it granted? On the basis of what laws? On the basis of what merits? On the basis of what testimony? What witnesses? What evidence? For what reason? Now this is not doctor of jurisprudence. A lawyer should be a doctor of jurisprudence. This is baccalaureate. In fact, folks, this is kindergarten. The plaintiff's complaints are not in proper form pursuant to CPLR section 2101A. Why? Specify. Glendora has a right to know. You have a right in the United States of America to face your accuser. You have a right in the United States of America to have a bill of what you've been charged with. 71. Is this ruling on the merits? Glendora asked. We're on page 56. 72. Is this worth $200,000 per annum to taxpayers? A law clerk costs what? $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year? Cost you that? A Supreme Court justice, County of Westchester, State of New York, costs about $113,000 a year. And then you have a secretary, and then you have a court clerk who hangs around the courtroom. Is this worth $200,000 a year? No, I think it's more than $200,000 a year. Scam, taxpayer ripoff. Neither is this so-called order, quote unquote, in proper form. Says Delvecchio, under section 2101A, the writing in a complaint must be legible and in clear type. Well, it is. I don't have any problem reading that. Do you folks? Baron Delvecchio say they can't read it. They're illiterate. They don't know how to read. Says Delvecchio Baron, here Glendora's complaints are handwritten and completely illegible, and she misspelled illegible. Ah! Thus plaintiff's actions are unintelligible, and therefore this court cannot intervene. Can you imagine that? Coming from $200,000 chambers, so-called, from adults? Can you imagine that? There is nothing more childish and schoolgirl than that. Said Glendora, courts and 25 lawsuits have brought no other complaints about Glendora's handwriting, and they cannot. So is this dealing on the merits? Is this dealing on the issue of the case, which is Porzio robbed Glendora of half of her security deposit? Porzio abused the security deposit custom? Is this dealing with the complaints that Porzio should be enjoined from collecting any more security deposits because of his thievery of same? Is that what this issue is about? Glendora says factitious judge law clerk betray their oath in the Empire State. Lying contrivances, excuses, desperations, cover-up are embarrassing to the USA. As Clinton tries to persuade Chinese this very week, folks, that human rights are a right everywhere. Clinton was in China this very week that this happened, saying that Chinese should have human rights. Well, you don't even have human rights in America, in the Barone Del Vecchio office. You don't even have that. Barone Del Vecchio betray America. The oath is to support the Constitution of the United States of America and of the state of New York. Says Del Vecchio, Barone, the court grants the plaintiff leave to commence the proceedings properly. This constitutes the order of this court. Dated June the 25th, 1998. And here's all, Barone never read a paper probably. Barone never even read this decision, so-called. All he does is sign his name there and put in the date. That's all they do. $113,000 a year. That's all they do. So wonder they can sign their name. So wonder they know what date it is. So wonder they can count above 3. He got up to 25. Now this constitutes dereliction. Just blew. Like the Second Circuit blew its fuse. So I lost my place. But anyway, what do? They say it constitutes the order of the court. You and I say it constitutes dereliction. So what does Glendora do? It's always the same, folks. And it blew a fuse again. So what are the 3 things you do? 1, you sue them. That's been done. Barone Del Vecchio and a whole bunch of other conspirators and accomplices have been sued in the United States District Court, District of Columbia. Second thing you do is picket them. You go outside the courtroom, Westchester County Courthouse, 111 Grove Street, and you go up and down with a sign, and you say, down with Louis A. Barone, down with Amelia T. Del Vecchio, and you just go up and down and say, crooked lawyers, corrupt judges, crooked lawyers, corrupt judges. And what's the third thing you do? Right now, what's happening now? You expose them on TV. You are the power. These orders are typed single-spaced. Did you notice that? Her orders are typed single-spaced. But the United States District Court, District of Columbia, is smart enough to read between the lines. Clown Guterman consolidates cases sua sponte, and Barone Del Vecchio say nothing. This is more dishonesty and dishonor on their part. And here is part F, prima facie. Glendora should have been granted the relief she sought. Her rights were violated, and it's the court's call to protect those rights. And that was Katie Cat. Del Vecchio misspells unintelligible. Illiteracy in the Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Westchester, rears its ugly head again. Baseless, stultifying decision. It's rigged, it's stacked, and it's a preconception. After the cases had languished and the work by the judge was not being done, Glendora called to see what was the status of Glendora versus Texaco. Said Amelia, it's on my desk. Well, it should have been on Barone's desk. A week later, Glendora called to see if anything had been sent but not received by Glendora. Amelia was irritated and disagreeable. Did you hear about the law clerk who was temperamental? Did you? 50% temper and 50% mental. The following week, both quote-unquote decisions, so-called, were received by Glendora. What do you do when judges break more laws than the defendants? Good question, isn't it? What do you do when a judge breaks more laws than the defendants? Glendora should give this inept, incompetent duo another chance. Go back into that court again, that court of illiteracy, that court that doesn't know what justice is, that court that deliberately defies the law, defies the rights of people of the state of New York and the United States of America. Go back to that court again? No, they don't get another chance. This entire ruse of law clerks making decisions and of their arrogance has to be cracked upon, and it has to be cracked open, and it has to be stopped. A decision as bad as these two could have been made in 2 minutes. It did not require from February, March to Father's Day. Nobody of intelligence, honor, and honesty could have read those two complaints and not granted the relief sought therein. No discovery. No decision on the merits. No meritorious defense. Summary judgment should have been granted in plaintiff's favor because of no meritorious defense. And that's a law. CPLR 3211B and Federal Rules of Civil Procedure Rule 12. Glendora will send a copy to the League of Women Voters for the upcoming elections and to the Commission on Judicial Conduct against Louis A. Barone. And if Louis A. Barone runs again for Supreme Court, County of Westchester, State of New York, you go out and you picket against him and you don't vote for him. Glendora never saw Barone eyeball to eyeball. Isn't that great? There were no conferences. He did the laziest job possible. And here are just a few of the things. Victims of corruption in the court, right? And then we have good old Criminal Code, United States Code, Section 18, Section 101, Title 18, 1001. Whoever in any matter within the jurisdiction of any department or agency of the United States knowingly and willfully falsifies, conceals, or covers up by any trick, and this is what all Barone and Del Vecchio did, scheme, another one, or device a material fact, or makes any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statements or representations, or makes or uses any false writing or document, knowing the same to contain any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or entry, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years. And I think the fine is $250,000. So these are all of the things that Amelia T. Del Vecchio and Louis A. Barone did. And this is the other one, Title 42, the United States Code. Whoever, you have certain rights given to you by the Constitution and by the statutes, and anybody who works for the government who violates those rights has a lot to pay you, and you be sure to enforce it. Title 42, United States Code, Section 1983. And so what does Glendora do? First, she feels sorry for the boys, the great American youth, who gave their lives for this wonderful country that is being ruined by people like Del Vecchio and Barone. And then she reports it to you on TV. Well, with the fuses going and everything, we are up to page 61. It's only 86 pages long, this complaint. And the exhibits are 140 pages, but the exhibits...